Marcel, father? Is it frost time?
At long last. No unholy rules forever, my frost.
I see only breaths before me.
And?
Talents.
Yeah?
Legendaries. Tier sets. Rotation.
Go on.
And more.
Frost time, motherfucker!
Man, fuck this shit. Promo, baby! That's it, we got it! You can check the link down below for some proper merch with the MarcelianOnline brand in it. Oh yes, you are seeing Assassino Criticalando, and if you want to get this on hoodie, on a t-shirt, on a cup, on a case, on your mama, maybe not, but you can get it on pretty much everything else. Check the link down below and get some MarcelianOnline merch. You'll be supporting the channel, we will love you for it, and it's gonna look cool. Now let's get into the talents. What you will need to know when tackling your Frost Decay will be that it has two talent builds. The Obliteration one, a good all-around option, but not that preferred by the top players, and the Breath of Sindragosa one that will be likely the best everywhere. Oh, and your fancy pants can use both dual-wield and two-handed weapons now, so another thing to keep in mind. So on the first row, for the two-handed Obliteration build, you will go with Inexorable Assault in every situation. With this talent, you will get stacks of extra obliteration damage periodically. Your obliteration will consume these stacks one at a time to deal extra damage. When you get your 4-piece set, when dual wielding or with the Breath of Sindragosa build, you will want Icy Talent. Now your runic power consumers will increase your attack speed, stacking up to 3 times. This can be a pick and forget about it talent during breath windows, but you will have to refresh it after it finishes with the Frost Strikes. If you didn't manage to get the 4 set yet, you can switch from Icy Talents to Cold Heart. This talent offers a lot of priority damage by giving a stacking damage buff to your Chains of Ice. On the next talent row, go with Murderous Efficiency for the Obliteration build, or in general in AoE, especially after you get your 4 tier set bonus. When you consume Killing Machine procs, there will be a high chance to get a 1 rune refund. This will have a lot of value when you activate Pillar of Frost, as you can control your procs. For the Breath build, you will want the Runic Attenuation talent. With it, your auto attacks will have a high chance to give you that extra runic power you need to keep Breath up for a little longer. On the utility row, most of them are very useful when leveling, but the ideal in almost all situations will be Blinding Sleet. This talent will provide you with an AoE CC in a cone in front of you to interrupt all those pesky mobs when everything is on cooldown. Can be very useful when all of the mobs are in DR from all of your group stuns and you need one more interrupt. Next up, Avalanche is the default pick for every situation. It will make your Howling Blast deal additional damage when consuming Rhyme procs. It is better in AoE, but will be decent in single target as well. The other options are not really that bad, but usually fall behind Avalanche in every situation. Sorry Frost Scythe, it's still not your time yet. In the level 40 row, Permafrost will be an easy to use passive that will make your auto attacks generate a shield. This will be very powerful when dealing with constant damage taken and will synergize very well with Icy Talent. If you lack mobility, Still, when you need more mobility, you can swap to Wraith Walk. You'll have a big movement boost for 4 seconds while breaking roots and shit, but using any other ability during this time will cancel the effect. On the next row, Gathering Storm will be the most used one and usually the default pick here. It will increase the damage and duration of Remorseless Winter for every rune used. This talent greatly increases Remorseless Winter's AoE damage and will be good in single target situations as well. The other options should be baseline, like Frost kind of suffers from not having AoE runic power consumptions, or a good way to make your consumers have their cost reduced. On the last row, your build defining talents will be Obliteration for the build with the same name. Now, during the Pillar of Frost, Frost Strike, Howling Blast and Glacial Advance will generate a Killing Machine proc. For the Breath builds, of course, you will go with the Breath of Sindragosa talent. They will be very strong in single target situations, but will shine more in AoE. This talent will give you 2 runes when it is activated, and when it ends, it will make you breathe frost on all of the enemies in front of you at the cost of runic power. Breath will make that Vengeance Demon Hunter your worst enemy when he will be cutting those mobs non-stop around. God damn it, tanks! For your much needed stats, simming will be the best way to figure out what you need the most. You lack simming knowledge? Well, fear not, as our simming guide is ready for you to check out, but after this video, of course. Otherwise, if that's too out of your way, we can help you with a rough representation of what you need, and strength will be first, so the highest high level piece should always be equipped. Next, you will desire mastery for extra frost damage, followed by critical strike, very close to mastery and even above it when using the breath build in single target fights. Haste afterwards, very close to crit with the obliteration build, and versatility will be one of the least desired stats to aim for. Weapon enchants are for less cool specs. Ha! You want rune forging on your weapons. For your two-handed weapon, always go for the Rune of the Fallen Crusader in every situation, especially when you get the 4-tier piece set. Otherwise, you will have to swap to Razor Ice for single target fights. When dual wielding, you will use a Rune of the Fallen Crusader on one of the weapons and one Razor Ice on the other weapon before you get your 4-tier set. After you finish your tier set, you will swap the Razor Ice one with Rune of Hysteria for the Breath of Sindragosa build for more runic power, or use the Sinful Revelation enchant when using the Obliteration build. Yeah, you are so cool that the tier set is giving you a Rune Forge so you can get an enchant like the rest of the people. On your chest, put that Eternal Stat enchant to help you deal with everything in raids, dungeons, higher content, everywhere. And don't forget that heavy Desolate Armor kit for the extra HP it provides so you can survive a little more. For your cloaks, the Fortified Avoidance enchant will help you survive big AoE damage spells from high level content, or you can just swap to Fortified Speed if you don't fear the AoE nonsense, because we all know speed helps a wheelchair class move around. On your gloves, the Eternal Strength enchant will be a must. More strength equals a stronger DK. If you stumble across sockets for whatever reason, fill them up with the Masterful Jewel Cluster gems. The rings should be enchanted with the Tenet of Mastery, but it's best to sim and swap these out with the counterparts recommended by simming. The Flask of Power will be the only flask you need, as power means more strength for you. For even more strength, go with the Potion of Spectral Strength, and your breaths and obliterations will hit like a truck. Depending on the type of weapon you have equipped, use the Shaded Sharpening Stone or the Shaded Waystone for more damage. Your hunger should be satiated with the Feast of Gluttonous Hedonism, and if you don't have access to the feast, make your breath smell like iridescent ravioli with applesauce. .2 has come and double legendaries are a thing now. But before that, you will want to pledge your allegiance to the Necrolords for every encounter. They will bring you the fun Slappy Hands Covenant specific ability. Abomination Limb, of course. This will damage every enemy around you, will pull them towards you, and will give you rhyme procs periodically. The signature ability will be Fleshcraft, a channeled shield that will provide you with some buffs when using the one Soulbind. To buff your fleshcrafts, of course. And speaking of the devil, Plague Deviser Marilith will be your soulbind of choice. With his 3 potency conduit path, you will have access to some pretty strong traits. The first one will be Volatile Solvent, and this will be the one to make your fleshcraft grant you different buffs. These buffs will be different, again, depending on the type of enemy you kill and use fleshcraft on, but one thing is certain, it will always grant you mastery. Next on Marilith's tree will be some defensive traits like Ooze's Frictionless Coating, a small shield when you drop below half HP. The ultimate form, a CC immunity attached to your fleshcraft channel, plus a while after you finish said channel. And undulating maneuvers, a brewmaster-like stagger mechanic while you are close to full HP. The last trait will be Kevin's Oozling. This special Oozling will damage your enemies, debuffing them with extra damage taken from you and shielding your allies, and pulling goddamn patrols when you run away to try and skip them. Goddamn Kevin! After you can equip double legendaries, you will want to go with the Night phase, at least in Cleave and Mythic Plus situations. Their Covenant ability will replace your Death and Decay with the Death's Due ability. This blue circle of death will deal shadow damage, and while standing in it, your Obliterate will hit one extra enemy, and you will steal their power from them with every Obliterate hit. This power steal will give you a stacking strength buff and damage reduction from those enemies. The phase signature ability will be Soul Shape, an extra mobility ability for your wheelchair class that will increase your movement speed and allow you to blink small distances. Your soulbind of choice for single target cleave situations and in Mythic Plus with the Obliteration build will be Dream Weaver. With the 3 potency Conduits path, he will get you some nice traits. Firstly, the cheat death from the Pod Tender will be very good for progression, or you can just resist taking damage, you know? Next up, further down the tree, will be the Field of Blossoms, a very short-paced buff which you will never even have time to move out of, so you know. After this, you will get a small shield trait with Waking Dreams, on a relatively short cooldown. And finally, Dream Delver will close Dreamweaver's tree, granting you a stacking damage debuff on all of the enemies around you, or on those that your abilities touch at the very least. In Mythic Plus or AoE situations, especially with the Breath build, Corraine will have your back. With a 2 potency Conduits path, she will ensure that you will be the first when it comes to crits and burst. Her Wild Hunt tactics will have you deal extra damage to high HP targets, and on top of that, you will get a much needed movement speed buff. Next up, she will provide you with First Strike, extra crit whenever you hit a new enemy before they hit you. Lastly, Wild Hunt Stratagem will give you some execute damage on your targets if they get low before the 1 minute mark of triggering Wild Hunt tactics. If you followed up the paths we suggested, now you will need some Conduits. The first of the potency ones will be Ever Frost. This will be another remorseless winter buffer and will synergize very well with the Gathering Storm talent. The second one you will like will be Accelerated Cold. With it, your Empower rune weapon will recharge fast and grant additional haste. If by any means you need a third potency, you can go for the Brutal Grasp, Necro-specific one, for more damage on your Abomination limb. In case you are not Necro, you can take Unleashed Frenzy when using the Obliteration build for another stacking buff when using Frost Strike, which this time will be Strength. With Breath, you can choose the Adaptive Armor Fragment Conduit for also a little more strength when you get healed by other players. For your Endurance slots, go with the Hardened Bones one to make your Lichborn reduce some damage. If you need another one, just go with the Condensed Anima Sphere for a little constant healing when taking constant damage. In your Finesse Conduit slots, you can take Spirit Drain first. It will transform Mind Freeze into a runic power generator if you manage to interrupt with it. As a second one, you can take Fleeting Wind for a little more movement speed when using Death's Advance. On your trinket slots, one of the best on-use one will be the First Sigil from the Prototype Pantheon boss. Very big cooldown, but with just as big of a versatility buff, so be sure to time it well with your breath. A good alternative you can find for this will be the Inscrutable Quantum Device from the Other Side dungeon. Again, a high cooldown but very good proc trinket. And since you are doing the Other Side, you can take the Overwhelming Power Crystal as well for the extra crit it provides. On the passive side of the story, the Old Warrior Soul from Sylvanas, even the normal and heroic versions are still very good. From the Pantheon boss, again, the Elegy of Eternals will be a good alternative. Obviously, another passive stat giving trinket that can share some of the stats with the players from the same covenant as you. Still, from the raid and from the Mighty Jailer, you can get the Scars of Fraternal Strife. This strange trinket will give you all the stats, but at the cost of some debuffs. As for the weapons you can get, for dual wielding, 2 Devastated World Shards from Rigolan will do the trick. It comes with the highest level you can find in the game, but is a little hard to get. If you want to go with a two-handed weapon, the Gavel of the First Arbiter will be a must. Again, with the highest stat level, but this time from the Jailer, so good luck with that. Even the heroic version is very powerful, however. And for the special snowflake that you are, you will have to farm Anduin for the Soul Warped Seal of Menethil. This special ring that only DKs can use gives you all the mastery you need, and it will have a nice effect to increase the damage of your diseases. If you just started playing again and you don't have access to double legendaries yet, don't worry, as you are about to find out what you need. Firstly, when raiding with the obliteration build, go with Koltira's Favor. Build this legendary on your ring slot to empower your obliteration and make it have a small chance to refund 2 runes. For the breath build, Rage of the Frozen Champion will be the go-to. Build it on your wrist or ring slot to make Obliterate have a higher chance to proc Rhyme, since Howling Blast with Rhyme will give you more runic power. In Mythic Plus, go with the Biting Cold legendary for both builds. Craft it on your waist slot for more Remorseless Winter damage, and to make it buff you with a Rhyme proc if it damages 3 different enemies. After you finish the campaign and get the Unity Belt with the Covenant specific legendary power, you can start farming Revered Rep so you can use it on any slot you please. Some very good spots to build it on will be the Helm for the big amount of stats and Socket or Boots spot to not interfere with the tier set. When you get Unity, you can combine it again in raids when using the two-handed obliteration build with Koltira's Favor. If you are dual wielding obliteration in raid, go with Pheromones legendary instead of your normal neck for more haste while standing in Death and Decay. For the breath build, still you will use the Rage of the Frozen Champion legendary while raiding, and you still want Biting Cold for Mythic Plus content on both builds. Finally, 9.2 came and brought you the tier set you deserve. DKs will get a big win here as their tier set is godlike. The 2 set pieces bonus will be a little boring and bring 8% crit chance while Remorseless Winter is active, but the 4-piece bonus is where the power is held. It will make your obliteration hits with Killing Machine active fire a Glacial Advance, so basically it's a talent baked into the tier bonus that will let you not care about having Razor Eyes on your weapons anymore. Talked about this earlier. Your rotation won't be affected that much because of your tier sets. What you will need to take into consideration is what build you are using. Open a single target with Obliteration by casting Remorseless Winter. Obliterate if you get a Killing Machine proc, Empowered Rune Weapon next, the Covenant specific ability here, Pillar of Frost after, then Raise Dead, Howling Blast next, Obliterate after, and continue with the priority. The priority you want with Obliteration during Pillar of Frost starts by obliterating with Killing Machine procs. Howling Blast next if you have a Rhyme proc, Frost Strike to generate Killing Machine procs or to keep up Unleashed Frenzy or Icy Talent, if you have it. Howling Blast to generate Killing Machine procs otherwise. Your single target opener with Breath will have you start with Obliterate 3 times. Use Howling Blast if you get Rhyme procs during that time, pop Pillar of Frost, use your Covenant ability, Breath of Sintrogosa, activate Remorseless Winter, Raise Dead, use Empowered Rune Weapon, and continue with the priority, which is fairly simple and has you Obliterate if you are low on runic power, Remorseless Winter on cooldown, Howling Blast with Rhyme procs, Obliterate if you have 4 or more runes, and that's it! And for your multi-target opener rotation, will be very close to the Breath of Sintrogosa one in single target, with the exception that you will want to open with a Howling Blast as well while running towards the mobs. This will cover everything that you need for your Frost Decay to take it right now and go smash some keys and raid. And if you want to go deeper into the spec and learn more about what Frost Decay can do and should do, check the Accuracy Discord channel for the Frost channel, where the top DK brains will help you get better at the spec. And some of these brains helped us understand Frost Decay better, make sure that we didn't make any mistake in this video, and to thank them, first we have to shout out Taze, Bicep Pumps, and Muffin Cookie, which you have seen in the Frost Decay podcast as well, and you can also check Biceps and Muffin as they're streaming on Twitch, and links are down in the description. Thank you guys, you fucking rock. And our patrons always fucking rock for keeping this channel alive with their enormous contributions that we are super grateful for. Getting all of this content up there for you is a pleasure of ours. It is our dream and it is what we like to do, and you are actually helping us a lot since YouTube is kind of in these trying times. And if you, dear viewer, want to support this and all the content that we do here on Marcelian&Online, check the link down below. You can get to our Patreon page and maybe there's something there for you. Who knows? You never know. You can check it out. Thank you for watching the video. Hope it helped. See you next time.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.